Real-life cyborgs aren't science fiction anymore. From bionic eyes to magnet-powered senses to Batman-grade legs, they're here right now. And we're diving straight into it.
Here's how you can become a real cyborg right now. Step 1, have a body made of flesh and blood. Step 2, put the body through terrible accident. Wait. Step 3, get smart engineers to experiment on you for research purposes. But you're still stuck on step 2 right now. So how about we take a look at some real-life examples of cybernetic upgrades you can get? Great! We've got sense augmentation, telepathic communication, and finally, bionic limbification. Let's start at the top.
I love the humor here. Like, those little dramatic pauses make it 10 times funnier, but here's the fun part. Cyborg isn't just sci-fi anymore. We've had cochlear implants since the 70s, which are basically USB ports for your ears, and modern prosthetic limbs can now literally sense pressure. Imagine telling 18th century surgeons who thought washing hands was optional that one day people would control robot arms with their thoughts. They'd either faint or try to bill you for the seance.
Bionic eyes.
Hostile detected.
In 1978, engineer William Dobell tried to create artificial vision. He found that when you electrically stimulate the visual cortex, a splotch of light called a phosphene is perceived. He then stabbed a bunch of little electrodes in and mapped video camera footage to them, creating a dot matrix of phosphenes. So now someone wearing the device could see the outline of shapes. One of his blind patients even regained enough vision to drive a car. I can finally see now! His work was showing signs of truly helping people. And then he died. And everyone realized that he barely documented anything. All that research straight down the toilet. But since then, there have been many advances in bionic eye technology. Devices like the Argus 2 now allow you to read large text. The screen? Imagine if you could record and replay memories, or you could even stream other people's camera feeds and relive them for yourself. Maybe you could even zoom in. And enhance. One day, I could even hack into your eyes and play Doggo videos directly into your brain. Well anyways, congratulations on your new bionic eyes.
This story is peak mad genius inventor. Like, groundbreaking discovery, drives a blind man around, then forgets to write anything down. Classic. The phosphene trick was basically turning the brain into an old school light bright, which is wild considering modern prototypes can actually let you read. And yeah, the narrator jokes about hacking eyeballs, but fun fact, scientists have already tested brain-to-brain visual sharing in mice, so zoom and enhance might not stay a CSI meme forever.
But did you know people nowadays are experimenting with non-human senses as well? Magnetic sense. This one's a weird modification, but you need all the help you can get, my friend. So you get a professional to cut your finger open and stick a itty-bitty magnet inside. Now it wiggles whenever you're near a magnetic field. Seems a bit gimmicky, but it could be useful for an electrician. You could sense the shape and intensity of magnetic fields, and even distinguish between AC and DC voltages. But there would be so many disadvantages. Like, how would you get an MRI done? Have you seen how strong their magnets are? So we need to, scan you for cancer. Sir? Or even worse, it just rips out of your skin. You couldn't get past airport security either. But at least you can pick up paper clips with your finger. But your implant would demagnetize over time, so eventually you're just left with a piece of trash. And a demagnetized magnet. Looks good on you though. Just don't get too close to that machine.
What's fascinating is that magnetoception already exists in nature. Birds, sea turtles, even certain bacteria use it to navigate. We're just borrowing it, but in the most DIY cyberpunk way possible. And yeah, MRIs would turn you into a human claw machine prize, but imagine the party tricks. You'd be the only one who could literally feel a fridge humming, which is either super cool or the world's most useless superpower.
Color sense. Neil Harbison was born with a rare form of complete colorblindness, and at the age of 22, he turned into the world's first Pikmin. He has a cyborg antenna implanted into his skull, with a camera on one end and a sound vibration implant on the other. Now, he can hear colors through audible vibrations based on what the camera is seeing. The cool part is that he can see infrared and ultraviolet light too. Today's a sunscreen kind of day. But turns out, having your brain constantly vibrating isn't fun. Make it stop, please. But the human brain is plastic. Not literally made of plastic, but able to adapt and learn. So even though there was this new sense forcing its way in, Neil's brain eventually accepted it. Just like how our brains aren't overwhelmed by our eyes constantly seeing and our ears constantly hearing. I'll give you this antenna. Doesn't really do anything, but it's cute.
This part is so professionally animated, like even the antenna swinging has Pixar-level commitment. Neil Harbison's invention basically turns him into a walking synesthesia machine, translating wavelengths into music.
Cyborg Sense Speed Round. North Sense is a little chest implant that jiggles every time you face north. Centero is a proximity sensor that jiggles when you're next to another Centero user. Seismic Sense is an implant that jiggles when the Earth jiggles. These cyborgs sure do a lot of jiggling, don't they? I guess we should sort that out now, huh? Telepathic communication. Humans communicate like this. But imagine if you could talk like this instead. Well, to do this, you'd need to read information from one brain and write it to other brains or computers. Neuralink is already working on this with their brain-computer implant, and they've recently completed their first human trial. The patient was paralyzed from the shoulders down after an accident, and now he can use his mind to play RuneScape. The chip has a bunch of electrode threads which can read different signals from your brain. Their software then maps these signals to cursor movements on a screen. And you could use this technology to map a brain to any computer interface, like a Jaeger. With this implant, you can now control this Roomba. Here you go, buddy. Right now, brain-to-brain communication is pretty difficult, because seizures. But a simpler option would be to read a message from one brain and use a computer to transmit it to an ear implant. You could basically have your own private radio channels in your head. Reading information from brains could be a bit scary though. I don't want people to know my intrusive thoughts. Neil the Pikmin and his jiggly cyborg buddy achieved a different form of cyborg communication with Bluetooth. And I mean a literal Bluetooth. When they were in close range, they could communicate in Morse code by tapping their teeth. What happens when they're eating though? How could you say that? Anyways, that's communication sorted.
It feels like a shopping channel for superpowers nobody asked for. Like, this one jiggles when the earth moves. This one jiggles when you see your friend. Honestly, it's amazing how much of our cybernetic future apparently involves light vibration. But the telepathy bit, that's where it gets sci-fi serious. Neuralink's paralyzed patient gaming with his mind is basically the first baby step toward thought-based Zoom calls, minus the awkward camera angles. The tooth-tapping Bluetooth is hilariously low-tech by comparison, like inventing email after discovering carrier pigeons. Still, bonus points for style.
Wait, where'd he go? I guess it's time to get you some real legs now. Bionic limbs. At the age of 17, rock climber Hugh Herr had both his legs amputated due to frostbite. Doctors told him he would never climb again, but instead of giving up, he turned his clunky prosthetic legs into ones that could outperform real human limbs. Spiked feet for climbing vertical ice walls, extendable legs for reaching far footholds, and narrow-tipped feet that could slip into cracks way too thin for regular feet. His legs also didn't get tired while climbing anymore, because he didn't have any. Now, he finds himself as the director of biomechatronics at MIT, where he designed special brain-controlled bionic legs. Microprocessors constantly adjust the stiffness of his joints to mimic how humans naturally walk. Like, look at how smoothly he moves. He hopes to end disability in humans one day, but there's a few major problems to solve first. One is that it's really hard to interface with human skin. It's hairy, oily, sweaty, and it chafes and cuts easily. You can't just duct tape a prosthetic on and call it a day. Hugh's research is developing synthetic skin to tackle this problem. It can change its shape and stiffness under electrostatic forces. Kinda like how the glider cape from The Dark Knight turns from floppy to stiff when you run a current through it. So the synthetic skin is soft and stretchy on your squishy parts and stiffer where there's solid bone surface underneath. Sounds pretty comfy. But a gross problem that's often overlooked is sweat. Since prosthetics basically surround amputated limbs like a shoe, sweat doesn't evaporate, so some sports prosthetics include drain holes. Another interfacing option is osseointegration, which involves implanting titanium directly into the bone, and then you can swap out whatever attachment you want. But the biggest problem is that bionic limbs don't really feel like they're a part of you. Humans have a sense called proprioception, which is basically your body's spatial awareness. For example, if you close your eyes, you're still able to touch the tip of your nose with your finger. The same can't be said for bionic limbs just yet. But research is currently being done to solve this, and soon you could pick any bionic limb you want, and it would feel like a part of you. Bionic Limb Speed Round. Jason Barnes is a drummer with a bionic arm attachment with 2 drumsticks, allowing him to play rhythms no other human can play. Jesse Sullivan is one of the world's first cyborgs who had a bionic arm that could be controlled through nerve grafts in his chest. This dude stuck a USB in his finger. And there's a company called Psionic that makes prosthetic arms that can punch through things. And now, with a few little adjustments, all finished. You look great! Ah, you're welcome. See you next time!
His story reads like a Marvel origin story. A frostbite takes his legs, but instead of fading into what could have been, he builds something better. Ice climbing spikes, extendable legs, and synthetic Batman-style skin. That's not just prosthetics, that's loadout customization. And the drummer with 2 sticks per arm, he's basically unlocked a rhythm cheat code. Even the USB finger guy, peak cyberpunk energy. Massive props to Doggo for not only packing this with insane facts, but animating it with such crisp, clever detail. Seriously, check out his channel for more of this genius madness. The link is in the description. Here you can find the next video. Stay nerdy.